Yeah, I guess I can.
My paper here, I'm good. So this is the right spot. I take a different approach. I just say, hey, quiet down over there. That's my approach, right? It's a little different.
Sorry, sir. Sorry.
I'm just
Why do you think traditional American realist artists didn't focus so much on the concept of realist art forms?
Sure.
And they focused more on the aesthetics.
Sure. Well, it was focused on the aesthetics, you're right. But concept back then was a little different. So, for example, you'll see paintings of fruit, you'll see buckets and things or anything like that. But those fruit, for example, stood for things.
Okay.
So at the time, if you had, let's say, rotting fruit in a basket, which is a common theme, you see flies or something, that would be symbolic of maybe their economy or market crashing or something. So back then that had held much more meaning. So that at one point it was conceptual. Now when we look at it, we say, oh, it's a fruit and it's pretty, and it no longer lives in that conceptual realm, but at one point it did. So I don't think it changed much. I think we change as people where we don't quite understand that upbringing and that type of society anymore.
As a realist artist, which one is more important, the aesthetics or the concept?
What was it? Sorry.
Which one is more important as a realist artist? Do you think it bears more weight?
Well, I'd probably have to be the concept, even though it's realist art. You come up with the idea first, and what happens is while you're painting or while you're creating the piece, the aesthetics start to become nice and they start to become beautiful. But if you lose interest in the idea, you're not interested in kind of finishing the painting. So I tend to abandon the painting and I won't finish it. Although if it doesn't reach my standard of how technically well it's crafted, then I might also abandon it. Because it didn't reach my standard. So it's a hard question, but I think concepts mainly due to the fact that I come up with a concept and I want to portray this to somebody else, and it's a visual language. So I'm trying to send my idea your way, and if you're not able to grasp that idea, then it's a failed piece. So concept, I guess. I don't know.
I thought it was concept.
It depends how you look at it.
Yeah.
If it's a goal, then again, if it's your goal to accurately depict, a figure or anything, person, whatever you're painting, and your goal is to accurately depict that through representation, then it's not the concept. It's more about representing that. So it depends on your own goal and what you're trying to do. In mine, it's kind of a combination, but concept, I think.
I heard that you studied in Italy, I believe?
I did. Yeah.
How did that have any effect on your work, on your art?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, Italy it was only a short period of time, but I was studying landscape painting. So I took my easel there, my paints and everything, and I stood outside in the hills of Italy and the wind and the bugs and people asking you what you're doing, they come up behind you and they, what are you doing? And I'm painting, obviously. So that's called plein air painting in the open air. That's what it means. So you stand outside and you paint what you see. That, believe it or not, was an incredible influence on what I'm doing now. It's very hard to depict, the landscape in 3 hours or so, because then you have so much time. The light kind of changes. So ideally, you have from 10 a.m. till maybe 2, where the light doesn't shift so much. So you become trained at producing, a quick painting, fast, a painting quickly. You get the paint down, and it looks kind of like what you're trying to paint in a relatively short time. Also, I learned quite a bit about materials. So earlier in my discussion, I was talking about mediums and oils and things. I use the same ones that I learned about there. So yeah, any experience of painting or schooling is relative to art. So I took classes in photography, and I did things like music videos and feature films.
This is in Italy?
No, this is here.
Oh,
so, yeah, sorry. Yeah. So I mean, everything is relatable. You know, it doesn't. You learn about painting through so many ways. I mean, it's this. You're studying light. So you're studying how light bounces off of objects. You know, it's a vibration. It's a color. So certain objects absorb other colors and they reflect other colors, and you see things. So for example, if you study physics and how light and matter work together, you might learn a little more about painting. You could learn about painting just about everywhere.
Yeah. And also, I've read that you're a
trumpet. Yes. Yeah.
Why that specific type of realism?
Sure. You know, my background was actually in figurative drawing, so people and figurative painting. So saying really just people. That's it. And then one day I was planning on doing a large self-portrait. It was a big painting, 7 feet, maybe by 4 feet, large painting. And I set up this mirror, and I was all ready to do this perfect self-portrait. And then the mirror, I couldn't find a mirror. I was getting very mad. And the mirror I found was all broken, and it was taped together, really dirty. And I was like, oh, fine, I'll use this mirror. But in the mirror, I noticed how awesome it was. It was great. Look at all the cracks in the tape. It was reflecting everything at different angles. And it was dirty. And I just decided to add it in and kind of, add in the tape and the dirt and everything on the surface. And that I think that led to everything else. So I studied, Dutch silk painting, and I started paintings of the back of the canvas, and tape and things broken. So I think that's how it started. I'm interested in now. Kind of in a different way. In the current, art scene, outside of painting, there's a lot of artwork. I'm sure you've seen, let's say, a sculpture on a floor, and you're not really sure if it's like on the wall, or if it's on the floor, or if the wall's part of the work, or if the floor is part of the work. And the thing that I find interesting about trompe-l'oeil painting, especially, is that, for example, if you take a piece of wood and paint a piece of wood to make it look like a piece of wood, at first glance, especially if it's in a setting where it's a more conceptual environment, like let's say an abstract art show or something, they would kind of say, who's the jerk who put the wood on the wall? So that's kind of where the argument goes towards, why is there a piece of wood on the wall? And then you get up close, and you realize it's a painting, and then the next thing you do, which I always find very fascinating, is that they look on the side. So they look at the painting, and then they why are you doing that? It's strange. You should look at a painting from the front. So it becomes more of a sculpture. So I find that it's pretty fascinating how people interact with the trompe-l'oeil paintings itself. So now I'm more interested in how, like the painting of the wood, if you were to bring the painting all the way to the surface, to the very edge of the painting, it becomes more about the surface, and it becomes more of a sculpture. So you look at the painting in a different way, it acts more like a sculpture. You're not sure if the wall's part of it, you're not sure what's art, what's not art, which is, how could you be unsure of what's art, what's not art with a painting? The painting is like, this is art here, that's why you also see that a lot of my paintings aren't framed a lot. When you frame a piece, it kind of tells you that this is the art piece here, because it's literally putting walls around the edge of the painting.
Like, for example, the painting behind you, I was like, what is it? Did he glue a cord to a piece of... Yeah,
this one was a kind of a different experiment. I was playing with the idea of how paintings could function on the wall as in their placement. So, for example, if you were to spread these apart, they're still one piece. It's because you kind of naturally, everyone knows that this is a cord in our society, so naturally you connect the two pieces. So if you were to put a painting in between the pieces, it somehow ties in. So if there's a cord running through, you say, oh, this must, maybe it's whatever's in the middle is part of this, and it's kind of strange how it works. So it was kind of an experiment to see how far can I put these apart, and is it still one piece? So that was kind of my small interest. The placement of the actual paintings, which it's not so much, people don't get it that much. It's a painting and it goes on the wall and there it is.
Thank you so much for your time. And I really like your work. It's really interesting. And I think I saw the painting you were talking about earlier with the mirror, and you're like sitting
it's
down
online,
like that.
I was going like that,
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. All right,
Thanks. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Got everything?
Yep.